This was my fastest one, and let's see, there's two variations. There's two, what Scott McCloud calls noble failures, okay? So, oh wait, this isn't a noble failure. I'll get to that. So, this one I did horizontally because I knew it was going to go up on a website eventually, right? All computer monitors are horizontal, most books are vertical. And I knew I was going to do that because it's in color, and it's too expensive to print in color. So I did it this horizontal orientation so that it would fit on a computer screen. It was just an exploration of color. The thing I love about the 24-hour comic is like 24 is such a magical number. It's divisible by so many different things. And if you think about red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, there's 6 colors, so I could have 4 pages per color, and I would have like one, and try to express the emotions of a color and all that kind of stuff. And this one was really fun for me. This is probably the most fun I've ever had. And again, I experimented, I drew the whole thing with a brush, which I had never done before. I'd never used a brush. So I was like, new tool, 24 hours of it. And I was like drawing on colored paper and cutting it out and gluing it down and using colored pencils and using watercolors and all sorts of stuff. It was like a multimedia thing that was really fun for me. My fourth one, okay, so this is where we come into noble failures. So Scott McCloud sent this initial challenge. So Steve Bissett drew the second one, Scott drew the first one. And then he sent it out to like his 10 closest friends. So there's an Eastman variation named after Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another Northeastern guy. And what he did was he got to 24 hours and he had only drawn like 16 pages or something, so he powered through. Okay, he was like, I am not leaving this drawing table until I finish the 24 hours. And I think his was like 47 hours or something. He just like powered through it. And this, you know, he's like a TMNT guy. Those guys have pulled crazy hours to get deadline stuff. But he didn't go to sleep or anything until he finished the book. And then the other one is Gaiman, named after Neil Gaiman. Okay, so the famous writer. And he's a writer, but he actually tried this drawing challenge. His is really cool if you can find it. And the Gaiman variation is, you get to 24 hours, you have 20 pages, and you say, screw it. I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Okay, pretty good, right? So this was my first Gaiman variation. I think I only got to like 19 pages, but you can see why I didn't make it, right? Because I have 4 tiers, which means on every page I've got to draw more comics. Okay, so think about the density of this. So on this one, I just documented in chronological order every scar on my body and how I got it. There's a lot of sledding accidents in this one. And again, you know, this is sort of when I started thinking a little bit more like, I knew I could survive the challenge. You know, improvisation was getting a little old because it's like, oh, crazy stuff. So I thought, why not give it a narrative structure? I'll go through my scars. And this one I actually formatted so that I could turn it into a mini comic when I was done. So that was a little bit more pressure because I wanted to have like a finished product. Again, it was only like 19 pages in a cover, so I could make a little booklet out of it. But, you know, I know all these stories. These are all, have you ever had like a party where you sit around and you tell your friends, oh, well, I got this scar this way. Oh, man, one time I fell off my bike. So, you know, I've told these stories a million times and I could just call them up. Oh, yeah, and then this happened, and then I was 6, and then this one happened. So that was that one. Okay, so then the next one. So how can I keep, you know, this interesting? So this one I drew in New York, and this is my first collaborative 24-hour comic. So Aaron Rainier, he just came out with a book called Walker Beam. That's a great book from First Second. And his first book was Spiral Bound, which was released by Top Shelf. He's an amazing cartoonist and one of my best friends. So I proposed to him that we do a 24-hour comic together, which was sort of crazy, but really fun. And the way that we started it out, because the idea here, like when Scott McCloud did his first one, he actually came to the library and he got a stack of books. He just pulled out some random books and then that was his inspiration. I think it was like Mayan masks. If you read his on his website, it's like all these crazy things that he incorporated. So, you know, you can sort of do like a little bit of research before, but the idea is that you don't come with a script, right? Pam, you found this out, right? When you looked up the rules. You're not supposed to come with like a script that you've written out, you're supposed to make it up as you go, or at least that's the initial challenge. So what we did is we each developed one character. We came with a character drawing and the idea that they're space aliens escaping from jail, okay? And that was just our initial idea. And so we started with that and just took it wherever it went, and it turned into this crazy madcap adventure. But the really fun thing about this is, I said, okay, page 1, they're being let out of jail. Page 2, the spaceship takes off. and we both started a page. I started page 1, Aaron started page 2, and then every like 10 minutes we'd say switch, and we'd just switch the panel, and I would go right in. So like, this is my drawing and this is Aaron's drawing. That's where we started, and then I can sort of tell this is me, but that's Aaron, but that's Aaron, this is me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's Aaron. Okay, so we're just passing it back and forth, and we just like, it was this frantic thing for 24 hours. And this was my first Eastman variation. This took 25 hours, just going back and forth. But it was super fun. And Aaron's like a great brush artist, so again, I was sort of learning from him just by drawing right on top of his drawings. Okay, number 6. This was in New York. I actually, that book that Dan was talking about was the first time I ever published this. I didn't release this one. All the other ones you can read on my website. This was like this very weird personal experiment where I was very lonely at the time. I'd been single for about 3 years. And I thought, well, what if I just imagined a girlfriend? I'll just spend 24 hours with my imaginary girlfriend. Her name was Suzanne. She's very pretty. And, we lived together in this dream, back in Portland where all my friends lived there, this sort of dream reality. And it's like the weekend that I get a book deal. It's like very, very embarrassing sort of, when you show your deepest hopes and desires, it's very embarrassing. So that was that one. This was my most perfect one. I start all my 24-hour comics at midnight because I like the purity of like the day begins and that's when you begin. And I finish at midnight. This one was like literally I started 12 a.m. in 1 second and put down my pen at like 11:59. 24 hours. So that's my best one in terms of that. The next one I never drew a cover for it, but it was just this was right when I was living in New York and my best friend Gabe was moving to New York. So I just took 24 hours. It was like the weekend before he moved to New York. So I just spent the whole day sort of meditating on our friendship. And it's just all the different stories, sort of our best stories of our friendship. I've known Gabe for 12 years or something. So, about similarities in our life and some of the funny things that have happened to us. I grew this beard. I moved to Vermont. I moved from New York to Vermont. And that was like another stressful move. So again, it was sort of just like, it's almost like a therapy comic, right? If you got something on your mind, it feels really good to just spend 24 hours and say, you know what, this really makes me mad. I'm going to draw about it and get it out of my system. So that's what this one was. Like, oh my God, this crazy move. And again, I made this one as a mini comic to send out. Another thing I want to show you real quick on this is 4 panels is a good idea per page. Okay, if you think about my 6-panel grid that I'm normally doing, if each page is an hour, okay, that's with no breaks or anything, then that's 10 minutes, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes just to fill a page. If you do this, then you have 15 minutes per panel, which is good. So think about working small and think about having fewer panels, okay? Have some nice big splash panels to buy yourself some time. The next one I did was, again, this is another collaboration. Max de Rodriguez is a Belgian cartoonist who was the fellow last year at the Center for Cartoon Studies. And he's a great pen and ink artist, so we did pen and ink. And then it's about this woman who's a photographer. She moves from a small town to the big city, and every time she takes a photograph, we would draw it in pencil. So it was a really fun process. And again, this is when we went to the CCS library. We got some old books because we wanted to set it sort of in the 40s. So we just got a couple books of some visual reference. We watched a couple old movies the night before, and then we sat down and made it up. And that really helps to just be like, oh yeah, here's what someone's car looks like, or whatever. Or to be able to say, oh, we should incorporate that thing from the movie we saw last night. It's okay to steal, you're a cartoonist. And then, as Dan mentioned, my most recent one was I took the first 3, not so great, but starting with the Scars one, which is up here, then Crispy Ginger Crumples, then the one with my fake girlfriend, and this one's about Gabe, and then this is about moving to Vermont when I grew this beard, and then that's the one with Max. So, and the book, it's like 177 pages, because it's 6 24-hour comics, but then the 7th 24-hour comic has full bleed black panels, and it's a description of, it's like a little precursor to each 24-hour comic. So, and those black pages ended up being 24 pages, and then I drew the cover, made an InDesign file, dumped all the pages in, and uploaded it to lulu.com before midnight. So, that was a rough day, but it's cool. And the book was made in the spirit of the project, which is really nice. I thought about like spending a lot of time and making a book, but it just seemed like you know, putting all this crazy, frantic, clock is ticking kind of stuff into a nice, like, calm, considered book seemed wrong. So this is all thrown together.